Okay. I'm figuring out this laptop thing, so recording's not quite my thing. I'm normally fairly introverted, so social media is not something I normally pay attention to. But I've recently been told that sharing thoughts is something that I need to be doing. And when it comes down to it, writing is something that I like. I've rediscovered my love of it with the most recent books for the Arcane Savant series. I'm working on 2 other series, maybe a third. The next one's going to be I'm going to continue the Arcane Savant series. I've got 8 books already planned out. Actually planned out. This is what's going to happen. After that, it's going to be a vampire series called Dead Not Gone, about a vampire using not real, but the mythos of the world. No sparkle, it's Dracula kind of vampire. I have another one in an idea in the works that really clicked with me. It's called Rapture Gone Wrong, and book concept about when the rapture happened, like 1850s, and no one found out. And it seemed like a good idea that large governments would want the status quo to continue, because if everyone stops working, say, oh crap, the end of the world is here, nobody makes any money, the government doesn't make any money, so it crashes. So they've hidden it, and then they've kept up the status quo, and they're just waiting for the next part of the apocalypse to happen, because after the rapture, it never says exactly how fast that whole process goes. But an idea that I really like writing to is that it takes more than one person to write a book. And it's not just me or any other author who's writing the book. It's 2 people, the author who made it, and then you, the reader. Readers interpret things differently than an author could ever dream. And oftentimes there'll be music that changes it, past experiences, life experiences that change something for somebody. Like I've had lethal force altercations where somebody put a gun to my head and I ended up throwing down and beating the crap out of him. But that was a decision that I had made based on past experiences, and it was a reaction, really. So some people get afraid, some people lock up, some people don't do anything. And it's that experience that helps bring about the whole scene for a novel when you're reading it. As I can write a horrible explosion like I did in the first book, and a Marine who's been present for an IED explosion will have a totally different experience when reading that scene in my book compared to somebody who's seen like fireworks, or somebody who's been like nose to nose with TNT going off. Well, not that anybody would survive that, but there's people who probably have come close, like in the salt mines of Kansas. There's people who blow up walls of salt, and they've experienced that kind of close, compact explosion. And it just goes to show that there is a real magic behind writing a book. It's that conjoined information that creates this whole beautiful project. And that's one thing that I truly do love about writing books, is that it's subjective. Every time you reread it, every person who rereads it, it can be a totally different story. And you don't see that with television or cinema. Even audiobooks. I've recently got a narrator for my first book on an audiobook for ACX, and she's amazing. She's got this Northern She's got this Northern Ireland accent that just really brings out the accent of what the main character is, because the main character would technically be from Scotland and in that area, because it's a alternate reality Earth. And her voice really brings it out and brings the feeling that I like out. But also, as she's reading it, it creates a totally different thing. And she emphasizes words that I wouldn't emphasize when I wrote it originally, but it does so much more. Just in the simple way where in the first chapter, one of the girls, he helps out. She says hero, and been like hero, and she says it differently, and it changed the whole structure of the end scene. It's just that simple change, and it changed from excitement into admiration. And there's a fine difference, but it was wonderful. So that is one of the magical things about novels and books and all these fun things that you can find. Even short stories, flash fiction, oh my god, it's like having a knife fighting a sleeping bag. You got to do so much for story in such little space. But that's part of the magic, is that you can get your own story from somebody else's writing. And that's something that I want to encourage everyone out there, is that if you have a story that you have in your heart and you think that it could be put down on paper, you need to put your butt in a seat and write it out. And you don't have to edit. Don't edit. My first draft, and Dan's my first beta reader, he can attribute to this. Don't edit anything. Just type the words, get them out of your head, and then edit. Because every one time you've read a story, the author's probably read it a good 20 times, and that's after he's put it on a paper. Not to mention there's parts of it that are in his head or her head that won't ever see a book, and they've got to separate that in their head. So when you first write a manuscript for a novel, if you want to write one yourself, it looks like total garbage, but you can see a core story there. You can see you can see what you want, and then you start editing things out. You cut 10% of the book out on the first rewrite by itself, because 10% is going to be dragging everything out. And you'll find a lot of things that you can change, like A becomes an, and it changes the tone of things. And there's little tiny minute things. Joe Bearden, good friend of mine, he's done live action, and he's an amazing director. He taught me the concept between word count and the value of the words you're using. Book number 2 isn't as long as book number 1, and these are fast books because I wanted people to be able to read them, enjoy them, and move on to the next one. But he took a sentence that was like 6 lines long, and we cut it down to 3 sentences, and it had so much more impact. And it wasn't explaining like blah, 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 on and on and on. It was just clear cut. Here's the situation. Here's how bad it is. Here's what I'm doing about it. And it's that editing process that takes all these stories you have in your head, all these parts that you can write out, and it makes them something that another person can read and enjoy. And I've gone indie. I'm trying to go hybrid, and by no means I'm published my books, but I'm by no means Big Six published. I'm not like Jim Butcher with Random House or anything like that. No, I'd love to be, but I'm not. But I've still published a book. I've still put it out there, and people can buy it and read it and enjoy it, or they can burn it and say hymns to Jesus as they think it's the devil or something. I don't know their experience, but as long as they get some sort of emotional response out of it, I've done my job. So that's the first thought I've got right now, and I believe that this was a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought I wouldn't have anything to say, but once you get into something you love, you normally have a lot to say about it. So by all means, like, subscribe, comment, say you like me, say you love my voice, say you love my beautiful looks. But feel free to comment, subscribe, like it, and hopefully I'll keep this up so that way I can start a platform, get some of my thoughts out there. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. I love you all.